One of the interesting things about English literature at a large scale is that if you were to go to the library or the bookstore and you were to start shopping for short story compilations, so where I got this short story was 50 Great Short Stories edited by Milton Crane. If you were to pick up one of those types of books, that not the short stories of a particular writer, but a compilation of short stories. I have here American Short Stories, the Oxford Book of American Short Stories, edited by Joyce Carol Oates. I have multiple short story compilations of great short stories, right? You will almost invariably find something that falls into the horror category. There is something indelibly literary about horror. There is something indelibly literary about ghosts. And that is where we find ourselves today. Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Fort, and we're here for another short story discussion, which will appear, of course, in the short story discussion playlist here on the channel. The short story in question today is The Ghosts by Lord Dunsany. This video will have 3 sections: a So What Happened recap of the short story, number 2, a literary criticism section where we talk about the literary goings on in the story, and number 3 being a writer's corner where we talk about the stuff that we can take from this short story as writers ourselves. So, what happened? Well, our speaker has an argument with his brother. His brother is convinced that ghosts exist because people have seen them. Our speaker says that's nonsense. That doesn't make any sense. Because people see them doesn't mean that they exist. In fact, I've seen ghosts and I don't believe in them. He claims I can even do it now. I can make myself see ghosts now. It won't mean that they exist. So he smokes a bunch of cigars and he drinks a bunch of tea and he goes to bed without dinner. A lot of nicotine, a lot of caffeine, and no food. I will tell you from firsthand experience, it'll make you see something. And nothing happens until he's nearly asleep. And that is when high-born ladies of the Jacobean era enter his room. He is unperturbed, however, until he hears feet and claws in the hallway. Then he gets a little perturbed. Then he recognizes those sounds as the bloodhounds of sin. Those sins of the present ghosts. Terrible sins, in fact. The sin hounds then detect our speaker, and they start to snip at him. And he gets the great idea to off his brother. He's going to murder him. He's going to kill him. Seems to be the good thing to do. In fact, he has access to a gun after all. He would disguise the corpse, by the way, as a ghost. After all, the workers in the house had heard them talking about ghosts. This would be the perfect alibi, or excuse at least, that it was a prank gone wrong. So he does what any of us would do in that situation. He starts reciting Euclid's Elements from memory. Then he doesn't want to kill his brother anymore. Isn't that just too good? Well, what are we talking about on a literary sense with this short story? Well, what I want to talk about really is, what are ghosts? Why do they work so well in the realm of literature? A ghost is someone who's died, right? That means they've already lived. That means that person exists in the past. That person had already been. A ghost of that person is simply the past affecting the present. So, anytime we talk about ghosts in literature, what we are really doing is talking about how something from the past is still affecting the now. We have here two brothers arguing over ghosts. Two brothers arguing over things that had gone wrong in the past still affecting today. So that is. Now, I tried to read closer into this story and see what is the purpose of the ghosts here. Why is this quote unquote one of the 50 great short stories as compiled by Milton Crane? I couldn't find it. Couldn't find anything in the short story that lets us know to what the presence of ghosts is alluding, right? So you could draw all sorts of conclusions. These are wealthy people. They are brothers, meaning that they share parents. Was there some ill-begotten gains from their parents that led to their current fortune, that they are being haunted by the Jacobean ladies because of XYZ? I don't know. I couldn't find it. I couldn't make a big case for anything, but I do think that it is a talking point that, look, that's what ghosts are in literature. But I think that ultimately there might not be a literary point for the ghosts in this short story, because this short story has a very clear method, a very clear lesson to be taken from the short story. This is how the short story ends. The speaker is in his room, terrified, having already drawn the conclusion he needs to end his brother. He is sitting there with all of these ladies that have all of these sin hounds snipping at him, and he says, "I looked into the red depths of the creature's eyes, but one last effort as they dragged me down. If two straight lines cut one another, I said, the opposite angles are equal. Let A, B, C, D cut one another at E. Then the angle CEA, CEB equal two right angles. Also, CEA, AED equal two right angles. I moved toward the door to get the revolver. A hideous exultation arose among the beasts. But angles CEA is common, therefore AED equals CEB, in the same way that CEA equals DEB, QED. It was proved. Logic and reason re-established themselves in my mind. There were no dark hounds of sin. The tapestried chairs were empty. It seemed to me an inconceivable thought that a man should murder his brother." So, the clear message with which we are supposed to leave this short story is that logic defeats superstition. Instead, the message I think a lot of us will take from this short story is that cleverness is rarely a substitute for skill. This is a clunky short story, and it is a empty feeling short story, I do dare declare, because the metaphor is so blatant and obvious and on the nose, so overwrought by the writer as to just put it on a plate for us. But the lesson still remains that logic defeats superstition. That is what we are supposed to leave this short story thinking about. Now, what can we take from this short story as writers ourselves? The big talking point for me is the question, is that ending satisfying? I don't think it is. I think that it is, as I said a moment ago, overwrought. I think that it is too on the nose. I think that there are many ways that you could have couched this same lesson, couched this same statement in writing that would have made it come across way more palatable. He could have just started reading the book, Euclid's Elements. He could have found it and started reading it, and then all of a sudden they were gone. Even that, something so simple as that. He was not reciting these things from memory. He was trying to distract himself with a book, and that's when they disappeared. Then your reader has something to interpret. Then your reader can write this off in a couple of different ways. Number one, the ghost did exist and they got bored with him. Number two, it was simply his mind playing tricks on him, and once he got back to reading, being grounded in something, those ghosts disappeared. But instead, we have this ham-fisted, heavy-footed way of saying, I came to the conclusion that what I have to do is by rote recite some things that I had learned in primary school, right? That does nothing, in my opinion, for an audience. It is the writer, the speaker in the story, saying, hey, I know what's really going on here. I'm going to do X, Y, and Z. There is and ultimately, at the end of things, we see the speaker as a smug prick because he's the one who said, I can conjure ghosts and still not believe in them. And then he conjured ghosts and he did away with them with his mind's eye, right? So I think that it does not leave us with a likable character. I think that it does not give us a situation where the reader is allowed to interpret anything. In that way, this is more propagandistic than it is literary. What do I mean by that? Literature, is the art of writing, the art form of writing. The pieces of art in writing. That's what I consider literature. What is art? Art is that which is to be interpreted. If your story is written with something for your reader to take, definitely, this is what I want my reader to come away from this short story with, then it's not art, it's propaganda. Propaganda is made so that people come away with a certain idea. You are telling your audience what to think, telling your audience what to take. This short story does that. Therefore, it's not really very literary, is it? Fuzzy Wuzzy wasn't very fuzzy, was he? And so, I think that you could change or tweak several things in this short story and actually give your reader a better experience. That is all I have for this video. If you like or appreciate what it is that I do here, hitting the like button really does help me out, as it tells YouTube to share this video with other literature lovers. If you find yourself here by chance but not design, literature is the only thing I talk about on this channel, dropping multiple videos every single week. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.